New developments tonight in a Mid-South death investigation now getting national attention. The body of a Mid-South mom discovered hanging by shoestrings from a mailbox.
Police say the evidence points to suicide, but a forensic expert hired by the woman's family says that the scene was staged. If Jessica Johnson didn't take her own life, who did?
WMC Action News 5 investigator Felicia Bolton now has new details, and we warn you some of the images here are graphic.
It's been hard.
Linda Johnson's memories of her daughter, Jessica Renee Johnson, are preserved in family photo albums.
She loved to dance.
Photos she's holding on to more tightly now since her daughter died in early June.
There's just a hole in my heart from my daughter's, loss. But like I said, she could bring sunshine and light into anyone's life.
According to Hornlake police, a mail carrier discovered Jessica's body tied to a mailbox in the 7500 block of Angel Drive on June 2nd. The DeSoto County coroner determined the cause of death was asphyxiation due to ligature hanging. A preliminary investigation points to suicide.
No.
Something her mother simply does not believe.
There's no way that I could believe my daughter took her own life. She loved her children too much. She loved her father and I. Jessie was she was a family girl.
Linda Johnson's doubts come from how Jessica's body was discovered and who she was with the night before. We must warn you, the picture we're about to show you is graphic. But her parents asked us to show you this photo to explain why they believe their daughter was murdered. This photo, taken by a mail carrier who discovered Jessica's body, shows the mother of two on her knees in an overgrown lawn, her head resting against a post, two shoelaces tied end to end and wrapped around her neck, attached to a mailbox. Her purse is between her legs. Police say they later discovered a pair of shoes without laces at the home.
This is a display. My daughter's set up on display. And I know my daughter's too vain. She would never do something like that. Now, I have to be honest with you, my daughter can't barely tie her shoes. She did not. She wore all these high heels. There's no way. There's no way. And then she would never have gone out that way.
Linda Johnson says Jessica, who struggled with drug addiction, went to the house on Angel Drive to see her off and on boyfriend, a relationship the mom called toxic.
She told me, Mama, if anything happens to me, go find him. I'm not going to mention his name, but go find him.
Hornlake police say they've interviewed the man Jessica was dating and are investigating all angles.
Looked at the crime scene.
The Johnsons have hired their own forensic scientist, Dr. Maurice Godwin, an 18-year veteran of high-profile murder investigations, including the Casey Anthony case in Florida.
To me, this is a staged crime scene. And one thing you have to take into account here is it's just within walking distance of where she was visiting with her boyfriend. It's not like she went out drove in the middle of woods or somewhere else and did this. One of the first things is the neatness of the knot tied at the end of the shoestring. It's almost at the end of both ends of the shoestring, and the knot is tied very neat at the end. So when she sits down to do this, how does she know how much slack that she's going to need in the string, too much or not enough and everything for that to work, and then tie that from a set position?
If Jessica did not take her own life, who did and why? Up next, and for the first time, hear from one of the men who was with her the night before she died.
Whatever happened to her, it didn't happen here.
I want justice. I just want justice for my daughter. I told my daughter after she had passed that I won't let her die in vain. I won't let her, I will get justice no matter what, till the day I die.
A grief-stricken Mid-South mom determined tonight to find out what happened to her daughter. The body of Jessica Johnson was discovered June 2nd with shoestrings around her neck, tied to a mailbox in an overgrown yard in Hornlake, Mississippi. The initial coroner's report points to suicide.
But Jessica's mom says she believes someone else is responsible. And tonight, for the first time, we're hearing from one of the people who was with Jessica the night before she died.
As WMC Action News 5 investigator Felicia Bolton reports, even those closest to this case aren't sure what really happened.
Hours before 37-year-old Jessica Johnson died, she was visiting this Hornlake home on Angel Drive. The next day, investigators say a mail carrier found her dead, tied to the mailbox with shoelaces around her neck. The homeowner says he was there when Jessica's body was discovered.
And the way she was tied, too, that was kind of unsettling, you know what I mean? That kind of gave you the feeling that she didn't do it to herself. Whatever happened to her, it didn't happen here.
The homeowner asked us not to reveal his identity because he said he received threats from people blaming him for Jessica's death. Hornlake police have not named any suspects in connection with Jessica's death, and he says he did not do it.
I wouldn't let anything happen to her, you know, anybody do anything to her if I could, you know, help it.
Jessica's body was found on Friday, but he says she arrived at his home on Wednesday with her off and on boyfriend. He says the couple once lived with him.
From the time they showed up Wednesday to Thursday, she seemed out of her, you know, normal self. That was the first time I'd seen them in a few months together. And she just, I don't know, she was just really, I think, lovesick. She was, you know, more dramatic than I'd ever seen her.
On the eve of Jessica's death, he says several people were at the house. At some point, he says Jessica got into a fight with her sometimes boyfriend.
One of my roommates told me she was out in the driveway and pulled the shoestrings out of her shoes and was threatening it. And he basically kind of just shrugged it off and told her, you know, get out of here with that. I don't want to hear it. He shut the door on her.
He says later that night, she sent him a text.
I got the text message from her talking about, you know, she just didn't want to feel the pain anymore and everything. And
he says he never heard from her again.
Do you think your friend committed suicide?
At first I didn't, but now, I mean, I'm kind of leaning that way, yeah. It's hard to believe that she sat out there from, you know, 6 p.m. on Thursday till, what, 9:30 or 10:30 Friday morning without anybody seeing her. You know, she just appeared out of nowhere, it feels like. Because, I mean, you had people riding up and down the street all morning.
Hornlake police say the investigation remains open. For the WMC Action News 5 investigators, I'm Felicia Bolton.
Felicia has been in contact with Jessica Johnson's off and on boyfriend via text message. He said he submitted DNA to Hornlake investigators and has been questioned. He described his relationship with Jessica as volatile, said they were bad for each other, but that he never physically hurt her. He declined our request for an interview and currently is the target of a warrant in Shelby County for domestic assault, bodily harm in a separate case.